Have you ever wondered, what if money isn't the enemy of your soul, but the very tool to expand it? Or asked yourself, what if every dollar you earn could be infused with purpose, peace, and light? And perhaps even imagined, what if the deepest spiritual fulfillment doesn't come from rejecting wealth, but from embracing it differently? These are not just questions, they are doorways into a new way of seeing, living, and being. A way where money is not a shadow that corrupts, but a mirror that reflects who we are inside. For too long, many of us have been torn in two directions, chasing spiritual growth on one side and feeling guilty about our desire for prosperity on the other. We've been told that to be spiritual, we must renounce money, that wealth is dirty, distracting, or even dangerous. And so, many seekers shrink their dreams, hide their ambitions, and live smaller lives than their souls intended. But what if this belief is not truth? What if it's a cultural illusion, a wall built between the sacred and the material, when in reality, no such wall exists? The truth is simple, yet profound. Money is energy, neutral, fluid, waiting for intention. And when aligned with spirit, it becomes a force of love, service, and transformation. This journey, dear listener, is not about choosing between money and spirituality. It is about weaving them together so seamlessly that prosperity becomes a prayer, and every act of earning, spending, and giving becomes an extension of your higher self. So take a breath. Allow your heart to open. Allow your mind to soften. This is not just a lesson about money. It is an invitation to step into a deeper truth, that abundance and spirit can and must coexist. Chapter 1. The false divide between money and spirit. For centuries, humanity has been told a dangerous half-truth, that money corrupts, that money is the root of all evil, that if you want to be truly spiritual, you must abandon wealth, live in scarcity, and prove your purity through poverty. But pause for a moment and ask yourself, who taught us this? And who benefits when people believe that spirituality and prosperity must live on opposite sides of the river? The divide between money and spirit is not natural. It is man-made, a belief born from misunderstanding, fear, and often control. Many ancient traditions never saw money as evil. In fact, they understood that material abundance could serve as a vessel for spiritual practice, whether through generosity, service, or creating beauty in the world. Think about it. A temple is not built without resources. A book that uplifts millions cannot be published without money. A movement that feeds the hungry heals the sick, or educates children cannot thrive without financial support. Money, in this light, is not an obstacle to spirit. It is often the channel through which spirit flows. Yet, somewhere along the way, wealth became associated with greed, corruption, and exploitation. And in many cases, that was true. People have used money in destructive ways. But that misuse does not mean money itself is unholy. Just as fire can warm a home or burn it to the ground, money can destroy or uplift. Its morality comes not from the currency itself, but from the consciousness of the one who holds it. And here lies the heart of the illusion. Money is neutral, but our beliefs about it are not. When you believe money and spirit are enemies, you cut yourself off from the very flow of abundance that could empower your soul's work. You shrink, you hesitate, you reject opportunities not because the universe is withholding, but because you are blocking yourself. It is almost like living with one foot on the gas and the other on the brake. You desire prosperity, yet you fear it. You long to serve the world, yet you deny yourself the resources to do so. This inner split creates frustration, guilt, and often quiet resentment toward those who seem to have both wealth and freedom. But the truth is, the so-called divide is an illusion. Spirit is everywhere. It does not vanish when money enters the room. It does not disappear in a bank account or dissolve in the stock market. Spirit is present in all things, including how we earn, how we spend, and how we give. When you begin to see this clearly, something inside you shifts. You realize that rejecting money in the name of spirituality is like rejecting water in the name of purity. Money is simply a resource. It can cleanse, nourish, and give life, or it can pollute, corrode, and destroy. What matters is not the resource, but the heart that directs it. So let us take our first step together to release the false divide. To stop believing that we must choose between a rich soul and a rich life, because the deepest truth is that you were never meant to live in fragments. You were meant to live whole. And wholeness means embracing both the material and the spiritual as two sides of the same divine coin. Chapter 2. Redefining Wealth Through Purpose. What if wealth was never meant to be measured by the size of a bank account, but by the size of your impact? For most of society, wealth is defined in numbers: income, assets, possessions, status symbols. The world applauds the mansion, the luxury car, the overflowing portfolio, yet deep inside we know these are only shadows of true abundance. They can be taken, they can lose value, they can even enslave the very person who owns them. So let us pause and ask a deeper question. What is wealth really? Wealth, in its purest form, is not just about accumulation, it is about alignment. It is the harmony between your resources and your higher calling. It is the ability to direct your time, your money, and your energy toward what truly matters. Think of the teacher who dedicates her life to nurturing young minds. She may not own a palace, but her influence is immeasurable. Her legacy lives in every student she awakens. Think of the healer who uses her resources to open a small clinic in a forgotten village. To the world, her wealth may look modest, but to those she touches, she is richer than any billionaire. True wealth is not about what you keep. It is about what you release into the world. It is about purpose. When your wealth serves no purpose, it becomes heavy, a burden of endless striving and restless hunger. But when wealth is aligned with your soul's mission, it becomes light. It energizes, it empowers, it multiplies. And here is a truth you must not overlook. Wealth without purpose eventually corrodes the soul. You can see it in those who chase endlessly, only to feel empty when they arrive. But wealth with purpose, that becomes a spiritual force. It lifts not only the individual, but entire communities. Let us be clear, wealth itself is not the end. It is the instrument. The song is your purpose. Money is the string on the violin, but your soul is the musician. Without purpose, the string lies silent, or worse, produces only noise. With purpose, the same string creates music that stirs the heart of humanity. Pause and imagine your own life for a moment. Imagine waking up not with the thought, how much more can I earn, but with the question, how much more can I contribute? Imagine measuring success not by the weight of your wallet, but by the light you leave in the lives of others. That is the redefinition of wealth. And it is not just poetic, it is practical. Purpose-driven wealth is sustainable. It fuels you with energy instead of draining you with stress. It creates gratitude instead of greed. And most of all, it brings peace, because you know you are using money as it was meant to be used. As a servant, not a master, the world does not need more wealthy people in the traditional sense. It needs more awakened wealthy people. Men and women who understand that money can build schools, not just skyscrapers, that it can fund art, not just advertisements, that it can heal the planet, not just decorate it. When you embrace this redefinition, money becomes sacred again, not because of its paper or digits, but because of the hands it passes through and the lives it touches. And so, the real question is not, how much money do you want to make? The real question is, what purpose is so important to you that you are willing to generate wealth to bring it to life? Because in the end, wealth without purpose is just noise, but wealth with purpose becomes a legacy. Chapter 3. The Spiritual Cost of Rejecting Money. there is a dangerous illusion that many spiritual seekers fall into. The belief that money itself is corrupt, dirty, or inherently unspiritual. How many times have you heard phrases like money is the root of all evil, or true spirituality has nothing to do with material wealth? At first glance, these ideas sound noble, even virtuous, but let us look deeper. When you reject money, you are not rejecting grudge, you are rejecting the tool that could amplify your purpose. You are turning away from the very resource that could expand your reach, your generosity, and your capacity to serve. Think of it this way: a candle can light a room, but a generator can power an entire village if you cling to only the candle. Insisting that using a generator is impure, you are not being holy, you are withholding light from those who need it most. Rejecting money is not a sign of spiritual superiority, it is often a form of hidden fear. Fear of responsibility, fear of power, fear of standing tall in a world that confuses wealth with ego. And here lies the paradox: by refusing money, you often become more dependent on others, more limited in your choices, more restricted in your ability to contribute. The cost of rejecting money is not just personal, it is collective. How many causes have remained underfunded because those with pure intentions refuse to engage with wealth? How many visions of healing, art, education, and transformation never came to life because their dreamers believed that money was too worldly to touch? It is not money that corrupts, it is the absence of consciousness in how money is used. A knife can harm or heal depending on whose hand wields it. Money is the same. To reject it entirely is to throw away a powerful instrument that could have built hospitals, schools, sanctuaries, and movements of change. Let us pause and consider: is it truly spiritual to deny yourself the resources that could help you expand love, kindness, and service in the world? Or is it perhaps a subtle form of avoidance and escape from the responsibility that wealth inevitably brings? When you reject money, you also reject opportunities for growth. You never learn to master the energy of wealth, to direct it with integrity, to transform it into a force for good. You remain in a shadow of fear, disguising avoidance as enlightenment. And here is the great irony: those who see money as impure often end up worrying about it the most. They live with financial stress, with scarcity, with anxiety about survival. Their spiritual path becomes entangled with struggle, not freedom. True spirituality is not about turning away from the material, it is about elevating it. It is about bringing light into the places the world has declared dark. Money is not the enemy of the spirit, it is its ally when placed in the hands of the awakened. The spiritual cost of rejecting money is immense. Dreams unrealized, service limited, potential diminished, a legacy unfulfilled. To deny money is to deny a piece of your own divine power, because the truth is this: the universe is abundant, and money is one of its languages. When you silence that language out of fear or judgment, you close yourself off from one of the ways the divine wishes to flow through you. So, the challenge is not to reject money, the challenge is to purify your relationship with it. To claim it not as your master, but as your servant. To use it not for ego, but for evolution. For in the end, money is not the problem. Consciousness is the key. Chapter 4. Living in Alignment Abundance. As a spiritual practice, what does it truly mean to live in abundance? Is it merely about having more and more possessions, more wealth, more comfort? Or is it about living in harmony where your inner world and your outer world move as one, where what you value most flows naturally into how you live every day? Abundance is not just a number in your bank account. Abundance is alignment. When your thoughts, your actions, and your spiritual values move together, life feels less like a struggle and more like a flow. Think of a river. When it runs freely, it nourishes everything it touches: plants, animals, people, even the soil itself. But when the river is blocked, water stagnates. Mosquitoes breed, and life begins to suffer. In the same way, when your relationship with money is blocked by guilt, fear, or shame, your abundance stagnates. But when you align money with your highest truth, it becomes a river of blessing, refreshing, energizing, and uplifting not only you, but everyone around you. Living in this kind of alignment does not happen by accident. It requires intention. It requires choosing, again and again, to see money, not as an enemy, but as an ally. It asks you to practice gratitude for what you already have, and to make financial decisions that reflect your deepest values rather than your fleeting fears. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, does the way I earn money reflect who I am becoming? Do I spend in ways that bring meaning, not just momentary pleasure? Do I save and invest in ways that honor not only my future, but the generations to come? When you begin to live in this way, money stops being a weight you carry and becomes a partner on your path. Every dollar, every choice, every exchange becomes part of your spiritual practice, and what holds this practice together is integrity. Alignment is not about perfection. It is about living in truth. It is about making choices that reflect who you really are, even when they are inconvenient. It is about saying no to opportunities that compromise your soul, even if they promise quick wealth. And it is about saying yes to opportunities that may stretch you, but bring you closer to your purpose. This is why abundance rooted in alignment cannot be shaken. The markets may rise and fall. Fortunes may be won or lost. But the person who lives in integrity never loses their wealth, because their wealth is more than money. Their wealth is peace, their wealth is purpose, their wealth is freedom. And notice this as well. Those who chase money endlessly often fall. Out of alignment with themselves, they grasp, they stress, they burn out. But those who live in spiritual abundance do not chase. They attract, they align. They open their hands instead of clenching their fists. Living in alignment means trusting that the universe is not withholding from you. It means believing that abundance is your natural state, not a prize to be earned. It means walking each day with the quiet confidence that when you live with purpose, resources flow where they are most needed. And here is the miracle of it all. When you live this way, your life becomes a testimony. Others see the peace in your eyes, the steadiness in your walk, the generosity in your hands, and they are inspired. You show the world that it is possible to be wealthy and spiritual, abundant and aligned, prosperous and purposeful. Abundance is not something you wait for. Abundance is something you embody. It is not something far away. It is here, now, in the way you breathe, in the way you give, in the way you choose to live in harmony with both spirit and matter. Chapter 5. Transforming Guilt into Gratitude. There is a weight many of us carry in silence, weight that whispers when we receive money, when we charge for our work, when we enjoy something that others may not have. That weight is guilt. Guilt tells you that having more means someone else has less. It tells you that, by stepping into abundance, you are stepping away from humility, away from compassion, away from your true spiritual self. And if you have ever felt that tension in your chest when money comes into your life, you are not alone. But here's the truth. Guilt drains the soul, while gratitude fills it. Guilt sees money as a burden, but gratitude sees money as a blessing. The shift between the two is not about denial, it is about perception. It is about choosing to see money not as a reason to feel shame, but as an opportunity to create impact, to experience joy, to honor the flow of life itself. Think about this. When a tree bears fruit, does it apologize for its abundance? Does it shrink its branches so that fewer apples will grow? Of course not. The tree simply offers what it has, generously, unashamedly, and in doing so, it nourishes life around it. Why should we, as human beings, be any different? The practice begins with awareness. The next time you notice guilt rising up when money enters your life, pause. Instead of pushing the feeling away, look at it with curiosity. Ask yourself, what story am I believing right now? whose voice is telling me that I don't deserve this? Often, these voices come from childhood, from cultural conditioning, from lessons meant to protect us, but that end up keeping us small. When you see the story for what it is, you gain the power to change it. And how do you change it? With gratitude. Every time guilt says, "You don't deserve this," gratitude answers, "I am thankful for this gift, and I will use it wisely." Every time guilt says, "Having more makes you selfish," gratitude answers, "Having more allows me to share more." In this way, guilt becomes the doorway to gratitude. It signals where your healing is needed most, and it invites you into a deeper trust with life itself. Gratitude does not mean ignoring injustice or turning away from suffering. On the contrary, gratitude gives you the strength to act. When you are grateful for your wealth, whether it is material, emotional, or spiritual, you are more likely to use it with integrity. With kindness, with intention, gratitude grounds you in responsibility, not in shame. There will always be voices inside and outside that say you should feel guilty for having more, but remember, guilt keeps you stagnant. Gratitude sets you free. Gratitude transforms wealth from something you hold tightly into something you allow to flow. And in that flow, others are nourished too. Imagine this. Instead of waking each morning burdened by guilt over what you have, you awaken with gratitude for what you can give. Instead of shrinking when abundance enters your life, you expand into it, trusting that the more grateful you are, the more life can entrust to you. This is the power of shifting from guilt to gratitude. It is not just about money. It is about identity. It is about who you believe yourself to be in the presence of abundance. And when you anchor yourself in gratitude, you step into the truth that your wealth is not a crime, but a calling. Chapter 6. Giving as a path to receiving. There is a paradox at the heart of life, one that confuses the mind but awakens the soul. The more you give, the more you receive. It sounds illogical at first. If you give away what you have, shouldn't you end up with less? Yet over and over, the universe shows us that generosity is not a subtraction, it is multiplication. Think back to a time when you gave freely, without expectation. Maybe it was money, maybe it was your time, maybe it was a word of encouragement. Do you remember how it felt? That warmth in your chest, that lightness in your spirit, as if you were tapping into something greater than yourself. That is the secret of giving. It does not diminish you. It expands you. Money is no exception. When you give with a spirit of abundance, you tell the universe, "I trust the flow. I am not afraid of lack. I know there is more than enough for me and for others." This trust shifts your energy. It shifts the way you see opportunities, the way you attract possibilities, the way you experience wealth itself. But let's be clear. Giving is not about guilt. It is not about proving that you are worthy by sacrificing what you have. True giving comes from joy, not obligation. It comes from a place of fullness, where you are so aligned with abundance that sharing becomes natural, effortless, inevitable. Think of water flowing through a river. If the river hoards the water, it becomes stagnant. But when it allows the current to move freely, it stays alive, fresh, and nourishing. Money, energy, love, these are all rivers. The more you let them flow, the more they return to you, often in ways you could not have predicted. There are people who live by this truth every day. They give without keeping score, and somehow, life always provides for them. Their businesses flourish. Their relationships deepen. Their hearts remain light. Why? Because they have learned that generosity is not a transaction, it is a state of being. And here is the beauty. Giving does not always mean writing a large check or donating to charity. It can be as simple as paying for someone's meal, supporting a friend's dream, sharing knowledge that changes a life, or listening deeply when someone needs to be heard. Every act of giving plants a seed, and every seed, in time, grows into something far greater than the one who planted it. When you live in this way, you realize that giving and receiving are not opposites, they are the same cycle. You give, and the flow returns to you. You receive, and you are able to give again. This is the dance of abundance, the rhythm of life. So the next time you feel fear about not having enough, give something away. It doesn't have to be big. What matters is the intention. Each time you do, you loosen the grip of scarcity and strengthen your bond with abundance, because in the end, giving is not about losing, it is about expanding. And when you expand, you discover that life was never about accumulation, but about circulation. The gifts you share become the gifts that shape the world, and in return, life gives back to you in ways beyond imagination.
Chapter 7. Walking the Integrated Path. There comes a point on the journey when you realize that money and spirituality are not meant to be kept in separate boxes. They are not two worlds you must constantly juggle or two identities you must switch between. They are threads of the same fabric woven together to create the full picture of your life. To walk the integrated path is to finally stop choosing one over the other and instead allow both to dance in harmony. For so long, many of us were taught to split ourselves in two. On one side, the spiritual self, quiet, compassionate, devoted to higher truths. On the other side, the material self-driven, ambitious, focused on building, earning, achieving, and in trying to separate them, we create a tension inside that leaves us feeling incomplete, as if something vital is always missing. But what if the real path was never about choosing? What if it was about union? When you see money as a tool and spirituality as your compass, you begin to live a life where your ambitions are guided by meaning, and your meaning is supported by resources. One without the other often feels hollow. Together, they create wholeness. Think about it this way. A tree does not apologize for its roots or its branches. Its roots reach deep into the soil, drawing nourishment, providing stability. Its branches stretch high into the sky, reaching toward the light, offering fruit and shade. Both are essential. Both serve a purpose. In the same way, your spiritual life grounds you in truth, while your material wealth allows you to grow, to stretch, to give. Walking this integrated path means you no longer see wealth as a distraction from spirit, but as an expression of it. Every financial choice becomes an opportunity to align with your values. Every spiritual practice becomes fuel. For how you show up in the world, the division fades, and in its place arises a sense of freedom. Because you are no longer torn between two identities, you are whole. And yet, integration is not always easy. Old conditioning whispers that you must choose, that pursuing wealth means betraying spirit, or that being spiritual requires renouncing material comfort. These whispers can be strong, but they are not the truth. They are remnants of outdated beliefs, carried forward by fear, not wisdom. To walk this path requires courage, the courage to defy those old narratives, the courage to live in balance. Even when the world pushes you toward extremes, it requires patience, because integration is not a single decision, but a daily practice, and it requires trust. Trust that when you align your wealth with your highest self, you are creating a ripple that extends far beyond you. You will stumble at times. There will be moments when fear tells you to grasp too tightly, or when guilt tempts you to give away more than you should. But even these moments are part of the journey. Each stumble is a reminder to return to balance, to return to harmony, to return to the truth that abundance is not about extremes, but about flow. When you live this way, something shifts. Your work becomes sacred, your wealth becomes purposeful, your spirituality becomes embodied, and your life, instead of being divided between two worlds, becomes a living example of what it means to be fully, courageously human-rooted in spirit, flourishing in the material, guided always by love. And so, as you take your first steps on this integrated path, remember this: you do not have to abandon one part of yourself to honor another. You do not have to choose between being spiritual and being prosperous. You were meant to be both. The true path of abundance is not about wealth without wisdom. nor spirit without strength. It is about weaving them together until they are inseparable, until the way you earn, spend, give, and live becomes a reflection of your deepest truth. This is not a path for the faint of heart. It asks you to face your fears, release your guilt, and let go of the limiting beliefs that once held you back. But in doing so, it also grants you the extraordinary gift of wholeness, the ability to live with integrity, to act with courage, and to flourish without shame. Take a moment now to imagine your life fully aligned. Picture yourself using money without fear, guided by wisdom, fueled by purpose. See yourself making choices that feel expansive, choices that bless not only you, but ripple outward to touch countless others. Feel the freedom that comes when every part of you is in harmony: your heart, your spirit, your wealth. This is the integrated path. And the more you walk it, the more you will realize that true abundance is not just something you accumulate, it is something you embody. The journey is not over yet, because beyond integration lies a higher calling, the creation of abundance, not just for yourself, but for the world. That is where we go next.
Final reminder, creating true abundance. Now, we arrive at the heart of this journey. You have seen the illusions, faced the fears, and dissolved the false divide between spirit and wealth. You have learned that money is not your enemy, and spirituality does not demand poverty. The truth is simpler, and yet far more powerful. Abundance is your birthright. True abundance is not just the number in your account or the possessions you acquire. It is the deep peace of knowing that what you create aligns with your purpose. It is the freedom to give generously without fear of lack. It is the joy of seeing your prosperity ripple outward, transforming not only your life, but the lives of those you touch. When you see money as a sacred tool, it stops being about status and survival. It becomes an instrument of impact, a way to heal, to uplift, to awaken in your hands. Wealth is no longer a symbol of greed, it is a channel for grace. But abundance is not passive. It asks for your courage. It asks you to keep walking this path. When old fears whisper, when guilt tries to resurface, when the world tells you it is safer to shrink, abundance demands that you step boldly, that you refuse to apologize for your greatness, and that you remember your prosperity is not just for you, it is for everyone you will bless because of it. So, as you close your eyes tonight, ask yourself, how can I live as a creator of true abundance? How can I let my wealth be a reflection of my soul? And then wake tomorrow ready to live the answer, not someday, but now, because when money and spirit finally walk hand in hand, you become unstoppable. You become not just rich in things, but rich in meaning, in joy, in impact, and that truly is abundance. Your journey does not end here. In fact, it is only beginning. Step forward, live it, create true abundance. The world is waiting. Thank you for spending this moment with Awaken Light Audio. If something today touched your heart or opened your mind, don't keep it to yourself. Share your thoughts in the comments. What spoke to you most? Tell us about your journey, your questions, your breakthroughs, and let us know what you'd love to hear next. Subscribe to stay connected. And if this message could uplift someone you care about, send it their way, because light grows when it's shared. Until next time, stay present, stay awakened, and keep becoming who you're meant to be.